What's going on, Niner fans? Let's try this again. We tried to do a little show tonight, but I'm just waiting. Hopefully nobody calls this time. Literally, someone had to call like all night. I was trying to do stuff, and then people call emergency, this, that, works. I don't know. Sometimes, some days, I just wish I could just like throw the phone away. But here we are. We're live. We're going to talk about the 49ers officially making the deal for Bryce Huff. Now they made the announcement official today. They officially traded for Bryce Huff. He's still pending a physical. It should go through. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't pass physical. And we found out the compensation for the trade to the Eagles for Bryce Huff. So the 49ers give up a conditional 5th-round pick in the 2026 draft, and it has the chance to become a 4th-round pick depending on performance. Obviously, if they do a certain amount of stats or whatever the performance is that he needs to do, it'll trigger for him to make the Eagles get a 4th-round pick instead of a 5th-round pick. So some people are like, oh, I hope it's a 5th-round pick. No, I hope it's a 4th-round pick, because the better he does for the 49ers means that they got a higher pick. So obviously you want him to succeed. I mean, yeah, okay, the Eagles get a better pick out of it, but if he doesn't succeed, that sucks for the 49ers. They just traded this guy. You want him to do well. So I hope he gets like 12 sacks, whatever. If the Eagles get a good pick out of it, then it's smart business for both parties, right? And I think it's going to be a good trade for the 49ers, because the best season that Bryce Huff ever had was with the Jets in 2023 with Robert Saleh as the head coach, actually, and it was his defensive scheme running the wide 9. Now, it could have been because it was his contract year, right? He knew he was going to hit the free agent market, and he went out and went all in and had a hell of a season. But most players are like that, right? Contracts on the line, better step up. But I do think that the system that Robert Saleh runs is more effective for this guy, because he's a good pass rusher. And Brandon Graham, his former teammate on the Eagles, talked about it on the Ross Tucker podcast this weekend. And he said, look, it was the scheme. Vic Fangio runs a different system and then Robert. And unfortunately, it just didn't work out because the Eagles, they're trying to set the edge and stuff the run. And, they're not necessarily the guys that are just going to run after the quarterback. And 49ers, that's what they do. They get that wide 9. You get 2 guys, crash the edges. On 3rd down, if you can stop the run on the first 2 downs, on 3rd down, you bring Bosa and Huff after the quarterback. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be music to our ears. It's going to be cinema. So I think it's a good trade for the 49ers. And I do think it's going to be a good trade for the Eagles. If, again, we want him to do good. So we want him to become a 4th-round pick. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. You help the Eagles out. You don't want to necessarily help out your enemy. But the better he does for the 49ers, the better it is for our team, right? We want success. We want to win games. We want to get after the quarterback. So I think the Eagles said, all right, good. He's going to a system where he should thrive in. If he does really good and gets a lot of sacks, get a 4th-round pick out of it. So I think it was smart business for the Eagles, honestly. Yeah, so here we go. Media says 49ers were tripping by not reporting the exact pick. I don't think they were tripping. Yeah, all the details come out eventually. They just have to report that they made the trade. They don't have to report all the details. And I think eventually the news came out, and everybody's, happy. And we all know exactly what's going on. But the 49ers social media team does not have to report. It's a social media team. They're not the team itself. It's the team, of course, the 49ers. Their social media team also sometimes doesn't know all the facts until later, So they're just going to tell you the main information. But hey, 49ers traded for Bryce Huff, right? And then the details come out later and later and later. But, we'll get actually Robert Saleh is going to speak to the media this week, right? OTAs, they're back this week for OTAs. And this week, I believe Big Robert is going to be talking to the media. I think Wednesday. I'm not 100% on that, but I think Wednesday off the top of my head. Maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. But I know he is speaking to the media this week. So Christine says this has been the best offseason ever. It's been a very good offseason. That's absolutely true. Anthony says, I hope it just gives us more solid depth behind Bosa. It definitely will, because the 49ers lost a lot of great players over the last couple of years, not just this year. But I do think the 49ers losses this year are a little over-exaggerated. I've said it before. Like, yeah, we lost Talanoa Hufanga. Probably use them now with the safety injuries, but it is what it is. Dre Greenlaw. But I think more importantly is over the years, they lost like DJ Jones and Samson Ebicam and Charles Omenihu. Those were guys that were really good. Arden Key. those guys were hard to replace. I think the 49ers finally have found, some good young players that could come in, step in, and be that depth and cheaper. And these guys are going to be hungry to prove themselves. But, of course, young guys, they're, not used to playing a whole bunch of games through the season compared to college, right? A lot more games in the NFL than college. The talent's bigger and better in the NFL. But if they can be the stars that we think they can, if they can be as good as last year's draft class, we should be in good hands. That is my big concern is, are they going to hit that rookie wall? Are they going to be, living up to their potential that we all want? So there is that. But I do think the 49ers have had a great offseason, right? They extended 3 of their key players, Kittle, Warner, and Brock Purdy. There's been no drama. Everybody's happy. Everybody's returning. Everybody's showing up. There's been no contract drama. CMC looks healthy, depending on who you ask. He looks good. Some people say he looks slow. I don't think so. On a 5-second clip, you can't really say that he looks super slow if you're not in the, the field. But even then, I feel like he's there. The fact that CMC's there is amazing, and he hasn't had any setbacks or anything. So I think everything's trending in the right direction. Now, the only upset last week, during OTAs was the fact that Ricky Pearsall tweaked a hamstring. That is definitely a concern. And Jair Brown, ankle surgery. Those are definitely issues, but we still have 2 months until training camp. So those 2 guys could get right by the time training camp starts. So I'm not too overly concerned yet. Now, if training camp comes and both of those guys are still figuring things out, you get a little concerned. But again, it's a long season. Hopefully everything works out and we can stay healthy. But in the NFL, it's not always the case. So Christine says Bosa looks like a damn beast. Man, it's chiseled. We know he's always been shredded. We all know he's chiseled. But this year, he just looks like he's pissed off this year. He just looks like he's ready to go out there and have a monster season. Because last year wasn't his best season. And of course, people are going to rip him because he got paid and he hasn't lived up to his contract. And then last year he got hurt. And I feel like he was really upset at himself because he doesn't like to get hurt. He doesn't like to miss games. He prides himself on being out there and being the best he could be. But he wanted to play last year. And then the season got away from the team and it was kind of risky to put him back there. But I feel like Nick Bosa, man, is ready to go out there and prove why he's a top 5 pass rusher in the league, maybe top 3. But, yeah, Nick Bosa's got a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to come out and be a leader, and he's going to be a mentor. He's taken Michael Williams under his wing, and I love to see that. I love to hear that. But he definitely looks like he's in incredible shape. He always does. But I think he looks like I feel like he looks like he's in the best shape of his life. Although every offseason Nick Bosa comes to training camp, OTAs, I'm like, I think I say this every year. He's in the best shape of his life. But every year that's just a testament to how hard Nick Bosa works on keeping his body in a good, situation. So knock on wood, hopefully he never turns into the way his brother, just tough, a lot of injuries, hamstring and groin and stuff. Let's hope that Bosa stays healthy and doesn't have to deal with all that. So he definitely does look hungry. MSQ says, is Huff an upgrade over Floyd? I think so. I think that in this system, he will be an upgrade over Floyd. Now, maybe I'm just Homer and I'm saying that because I'm optimistic. And obviously, that's probably part of why I'm saying that. But Floyd was a little older. He definitely was, good as the season kind of progressed. But early on, I feel like Floyd didn't really give us a lot of at the beginning. I do think that if Bryce Huff, he's younger too. I feel like if he can come up and hit his potential and play the way he played with the Jets 2 years ago in 2023, then you absolutely upgraded. But also, I think he can at least be as good as Floyd, right? Floyd had a lot of I feel like they were kind of like, I don't know. The sacks he had weren't like, oh, wow, that was overpowering. It was just, they were just like, they were just pick up, clean up kind of sacks. He kind of didn't really necessarily overpower. He's a good veteran. I think that, throughout his career, Leonard Floyd has been a very good player. I think, again, he did come on as of late, but early in the season, I don't feel like he made that big of an impact. But he was still transitioning and learning the system, and then there was injuries. Of course, Nick Bosa did get hurt, so that took away, he was getting double teamed. But I do think that Huff in this system, if he can be, again, the guy that he was in 2023 with Robert, then I think we definitely upgraded. But again, a lot of it has to deal with, can he get over that mental edge? Last year was a tough year for him with the Eagles, but we talked about it, how his former teammate, Brandon Graham, he was on the Ross Tucker podcast, and he said, it was a scheme situation. Fangio didn't run the same scheme as Salah. And that's the thing. He's a good pass rusher. He can get to the quarterback, but he's not going to go out there and stuff the run. And so the Eagles kind of necessarily, that's what they do. But the whole scheme is set up the way he was back into the way it was in 2003 when he had his best year. So I think, yeah, absolutely, he can be an upgrade over Floyd. Not knocking Floyd, but there's a reason why they got rid of him. He's older. He's getting, he has less juice in his legs, and I feel like they think they could squeeze out a good couple of years out of Bryce Huff, at least 2 years, where he can be a pretty productive pass rusher. And then as Mykel Williams gets a little bit more experience and he becomes, the guy they envision him to be, then yeah, you go from Huff and then boom, Mykel Williams becomes a superstar player. So in theory, yeah, they did a good job here. And he's younger, and I think he's going to be hungry because last year was a bad year for him, right? And I think he has a lot to prove. And now, again, he's with a guy that he had his best season under with Robert Saleh. So good stuff. Julia says, is Huff more likely to start over Williams? I don't necessarily think it's like a start. The way the 49ers defensive line is, got that wide 9. I feel like on certain, like the first two situations, the first 2 downs, he might not be in there unless it's like a 1st and 20, 2nd and 10, something like that. He's going to be a situational pass rusher. Now, it's not that he doesn't mean he's not starting. I think he can be there on first down, depending on the situation. But I feel like Mykel Williams is going to be a guy that gets a lot of, usage in the first 2 downs because he's going to be there to help stuff the run. He's a good edge setter. And that's what you want out of a guy that's going to be able to stuff that run, get him into 2nd and long, get him into 3rd and long. Then, boom, you put in Bryce Huff, who can run after the quarterback. And that's what you want on 3rd down. So it's not necessarily going to say that he's not going to start. It really depends on the situation. And NFL football is all about situational matchups, right? So I feel like he's going to be a big part of this D-line, but, you're also going to have rotations and this and that. But, I feel like he will be one of the main defensive linemen on this team. So, but I think 3rd downs is where he's going to be the bread and butter guy. And if they can't stop him, if they double team Nick Bosa, then you got Bryce Huff. And if he's playing the way he can under this system, then he's going to be eaten. And then you got to double team him if he's tearing it up and you leave Bosa man on man. And that's usually not a good thing for teams. So overall, I think it could be just a solid defensive line going crazy. So let's see. Steven says, Howie did Huff dirty for saying he's not a part of the team anymore before Super Bowl. I mean, at the end of the day, he didn't play good last year. And, they're winning the Super Bowl. It worked out. They put their dogs on the line. I don't think it was dirty. I mean, at that point, it was a performance issue. And, now, again, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And, it just didn't work out for him in the Eagles. And it sucks for him. But I think that is good for him. It's going to motivate him to play the best football that he can play. And if he wants to continue to, make more money, he's going to have to go out there and show that, yeah, you know what, the Eagles was just a bad year because of the system, the scheme, and just didn't mentally, I don't think he fit into that team. When you're having a down year and you're not contributing to a Super Bowl team and you're so good, they spent a lot of money to get this guy. They made him a highly coveted, offseason signing last year, and he just didn't live up to the hype. So, yeah, I'm sure he was pissed off and mentally, not in a good place. So at the end of the day, though, I don't think there's any ill will with the Eagles and, their decision on bringing him in. He was great in 2003, right? But some people say, certain Niners have only had one good season, right? But hey, at the end of the day, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And I hope that he becomes a stud with the Niners. So got to start taking accountability. Yeah, it is what it is. You got to take accountability. Hey, he probably had he probably knows that this is another opportunity. This is a second chance in the league. You don't get a lot of extra chances in the league, and they're going to give it to him. The Niners are giving this guy a chance to be a 10-sack type of guy, a bona fide, legit pass rusher on the other side of the ball. Bosa needs a guy, right? We've been screaming for years, like, hey, and when D Ford was there, we were like, oh my God, we got this like Ferrari off the side of the, the line, and then he got hurt all the time. And then we've been searching, go get that second guy to help Bosa, go get that guy. And now they got Mykel Williams and Bryce Huff. And I think we're more than capable of having somebody come in and help Nick Bosa off the edge, because Drake Jackson didn't work. Brandon Beal didn't work. A lot of players haven't worked out. And Yetur Gross-Matos, he's there, but he didn't really play that much last year. is he got hurt, unfortunately. So hopefully he can step up. I like that kid, Sam O, that young, the guy that really stepped up last year. Maybe he takes a leap and he can be a good pass rusher this year. But hey, I don't know if he's going to do it. So now you have some more talent, and you need depth. 49ers added depth. At the end of the day, D-line's the trenches, O-line, D-line, you need to have bodies in there, and that's what you need. And, we all know the game's won in the trenches, and now they've really addressed it. If you look at this D-line, it's going to be a lot better than what it could have been 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, right, before the draft. And I was looking at this team. I was like, yeah, the 9 or 10 defensive linemen that they're going to keep, it's a really good D-line compared to – I feel like they've upgraded tremendously as long as the young players they drafted can hit their potential and stay healthy and not hit that rookie wall. But I think they have some good talent on the D-line. So being the highest paid, we expect more. Times stop baby these players and treat I think that's not a bad take that Tej Beats is saying that Nick Bosa needs to prove himself and step up more. Ed, he does need to take accountability. Last year wasn't a good year, and that, again, that's what I was saying is Nick knows that was a bad year. He was pissed. I guarantee if you ask Nick Bosa, how do you feel about last year's performance? And they're going to ask him this when he speaks to the media later this year during training camp. They're going to ask him, and he's going to probably tell you he was probably not happy with himself. He probably wouldn't grade himself too high. Of course he made the money, but I don't think he knows. I don't think he feels like he earned that money. But hey, you're not going to say that. You want to make your money. But I feel like deep down inside, he knows he didn't earn the money. Now, you can sit there and blame lack of help, lack of this, the injury, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, yeah, Nick Bosa didn't live up to his expectations. Niner fans have a lot of lofty expectations for, Nick Bosa and other players because they're highly paid. Like you have Kittle and, Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey and now Brock Purdy and Nick Bosa. These guys are getting paid a lot of money. So we expect them to put up a lot of stats for a lot of money. So I get where some people say, Nick was terrible last year. I do think that he didn't have a lot of help and the injuries didn't help him. But at the end of the day, if you're like that guy, you should take over games. And he just didn't take over games last year. But I feel like it was just a bad year for everybody. He wasn't the only guy, right? The mindset last year wasn't the same. Mentally, this team was not in a good place. Dark cloud to start the offseason. So I think things are looking up. And I think Nick Bosa, he's coming in, really hot. He looks like he looks in tremendous shape like he always does, like we said. But like something's different. And now he's got, the mentor role. And he's one of the longer vet. He's been on this team. Like, it's crazy. I posted the other day, this clip on, the Niners post, and we posted it on the page. And I'm like, dang, man, he's been in the league since 2018. 2009. This is his 7th season. He's going into year 7. That's actually crazy. That he's going into year freaking 7, man. Like, time just flies. What happened? Blinking, now he's with year 7. Like, you kidding me? So yeah, I think now at this point in his career, he knows. He's like, okay, I've been a pretty solid player. I was defensive player of the year. I was defensive rookie of the year. Now he's got a bunch of players under him, and you don't have Armstead. You don't have Hargrave. You don't have a lot of veterans on this D-line. Nick Bosa is your veteran on the D-line. So it's a different season for him, and I could see that mindset. He's coming into, voluntary workouts. He never done that before. He's usually in Florida with his brother, playing golf, working out, playing with crocodiles. I don't know what the fuck he's doing in Florida, but he ain't with the Niners usually. This year, he is. That's a huge, huge difference for Bosa this year. So I think he's locked in. I think he knows he needs to tear it up this year. So Aaron Donald never had help. TJ Watt has no help. Garrett has no. Yeah, I agree with that, Tej Beats. I think you made an absolutely good point. The best of the best, they can do it on their own. And I think Nick Bosa knows he hasn't been getting good remarks and good review. Like, the media is down on Nick, and I think that bugs him. I think if you're an alpha, if you're a dog, if you want to be the best of the best, I think that should eat at you. I think that should piss him off. And I'm hoping that Nick Bosa comes out and has at least 15 sacks this year. I hope he goes crazy this year and just, that season he won Defensive Player of the Year he was a game wrecker. He was coming out there. He was getting sacks and strips. And that was a hell of a year for Nick Bosa when he won Defensive Player of the Year. I hope he gets back to that. He still had a good year. Like, the pressures. Like I saw some post the other day. They compared like Parsons and Bosa, and Bosa's stats were still better than Parsons. You know, their last 2 full seasons. Like, and everybody would say, "Oh, Parsons clears Nick Bosa," but really doesn't. But he still needs to prove that he's a force and he's a game wrecker. And I think a guy like Bryce Huff is going to help Nick Bosa, because if he plays the way that we expect him to play, like he played with the Jets in 2003, how are you going to stop him and Nick Bosa? And then you got Michael Williams, and then CJ West. If this defensive line plays how we think they can play, oh, we're cooking, baby. So Aaron Donald, no, man, MSQ. There was times where Aaron Donald was the defensive line. I'm not going to lie to you. TJ Watt, I mean, he's had some good players on that team, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, but there's times where it's literally the TJ Watt show. I mean, those two guys, they're on another level, man. Those two guys are amazing. But I'm not saying that Nick Bosa hasn't dominated. He has dominated. He needs to get back to that. And I think that's what Tej Beats is saying. And he makes a valid point. I don't think that he's 100% right, because I do think there was times where Nick there's nothing he could do. He had Robert Beal. At that point, like, there's another argument you can make that he really had shit out there last year. He was Leonard Floyd at the beginning of the season. He was mid. And then Robert Beal, Drake Jackson, he can't even fucking find the field. They had to cut him this offseason, unfortunately for him. But at the end of the day, we all want Nick Bosa to be dominating on the field. And I think I love Nick Bosa, man. I'm such a Nick Bosa guy. So I hope he tears it up this year. But we'll see. Other news, let's shift gears real quick before we end the stream. Let's give some props. Let's congratulate Saquon Barkley for taking the torch. He took the cursed torch from Christian McCaffrey. Ah, fuck yeah, dude. Did you see that video this morning of Christian McCaffrey before we posted? He was like, "Oh, CMC." He's like, Saquon Barkley. He was so happy. He was mad. Fucking happy. He couldn't wait to say. He's like, "Yeah, I'm passing on the torch. Take the torch. You're now the new cover guy for Madden." Oh, baby. So happy for the running back committee. Bro, CMC was like, get this cover shit off of my hands. I don't want, bro, was passing the curse. Oh, he was so, the faith. CMC was like, yeah, I couldn't wait to get this out of my hands, bro. That shit had me in stitches. I was laughing. But in all seriousness, Saquon Barkley, he's going to be, he's the Madden cover art guy this year. He's gracing the cover of Madden. He did the hurdle. I love it, whatever. But most importantly, no more Madden curse for the 49ers and CMC. That's behind us. And let's hope that everything realigns. I hope that Saquon doesn't get hurt. But that Madden curse, man, I don't know if he can avoid it, because that Madden curse has really cooked a lot of players over the years. Christian McCaffrey, he couldn't escape the allegations. It's unfortunate. So, yeah, karma will come back to us. I'm not even trying to jinx. I'm not even trying to be, funny or anything. I just saw that video. I was like, bro, Christian McCaffrey was so happy that he doesn't have to worry about that. He was legitimately smiling like, yo, here you go, Saquon. But I hope that nobody gets hurt. I hope that the curse is over. I mean, it would suck if the Niners were the last team cursed, but it is what it is. I'm just happy that we don't have to deal with that. I don't want any Niners player on the cover of Madden ever. I don't want any Niners player ever on that cover. That was terrible, man. Like, it was cool at first when they announced it. I was like, okay, CFC cover was cool, da-da-da-da-da. But then you realize, you're like, oh, God, is there a curse? Sure enough, that was bad. Like, I looked through, and every year, whenever they make the Madden cover, they show all these old players that were on it. Peyton Hillis, Mike Vick there's so many players that just went through that Madden cover and just careers were never the same. So hopefully the curse doesn't stick around with CMC and he can be great and healthy, and and hopefully Saquon, nothing happens to him, because I don't want to wish injuries on anybody. But bro, CMC was delighted. He's delighted. The curse has been lifted. Yeah. MSQ says, I wish that no more Niners will ever grace the cover. I agree. Yeah, he said he was done with it. After that video, you can't say the Madden curse isn't real. You can't, man. Like, that Madden curse, I believe in it. Before I was skeptical. You can't. There's no. That curse is real, bro. Steven says, I have a question when no one ever asked, who's going to be the starter, kick returner and punt return? So it's probably going to be the 7th round receiver out of Peter. What's the guy's name? Christ, what's his name? Can't think of his name off the top of my list. It'll come to me. The guy they picked, Junior Bergen out of Montana. Junior Bergen. Most likely, if he can, showcase his skills in training camp and everything, he's supposed to be the guy. That's what they've been saying. That's what Brent Boyer's been saying. That's what the Niners have been feeding us, that this guy looks like he's going to be the return man. Junior Bergen was a fantastic return guy in college. He has all these records, 8, I think, punt return touchdowns in FCS. It's a record. The guy looks like he could be something, but of course, FCS compared to the NFL, it's a whole different ball game. But if this guy can be what they envision him to be, it's the return guy. We haven't had a good return guy in a long time, so this could be, a gem of a pick if he could be a good return man. So Junior Bergen could be your return guy. So media says, hope my guy Cowing gets some offensive targets. I hope so. I hope so. I hope he does too. I mean, at this point, you better throw the ball to somebody, right? Ricky Pearsall dealing with the hamstring. Brandon Ayuk, who knows when he's coming back? Demarcus Robinson might miss a few games because of the suspension. You got Juwan Jennings, who I love, but you need more than one receiver. So it might be interesting the next couple of weeks. I could see them go get a veteran, depending on how Ricky's hamstring holds up over the next couple of weeks. So there you go. Junior Bergen, that's right. Christine says, wish no harm to anyone, but I'm so glad CMC made that video. Me too. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. What's up, man? MSQ says, are Mahomes, Brady, Lamar, and Allen the only cover athletes to not be cursed? I mean, I think Mahomes and Brady definitely not cursed. Lamar, you can make the case that when the playoffs come, he's cursed. And you can say the same thing for Josh Allen. They probably, both of those guys, fold in the playoffs, but I don't know if that's the Madden curse. Tej says, York nailed it when he says, no more overpaying. We got to win and fast. Yeah, we got to win now. Can't overpay players because we've overpaid too many damn players. Have all this, negative caps. We had like all the dead cap and all that. Niners are trying to shift gears, get young, rebuild this team, or retool the team with younger, cheaper talent that are hungry and still good. You still got your core guys, Bosa, Warner, John Lenore, Kittle, blah, 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 all the guys. They still got some good players, but they also got some really young guys that are going to be hungry. So, yeah, we got to win. Super Bowl's at our home. Let's see. My man Julius says, late night streams hit different. I feel like I should do more late night streams just because the days are busy, bro. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, today was a busy. It's my day off today, but I work more than I usually do on my days that I work. Kind of crazy how it works out sometimes because I do like other networking stuff and I'm setting up stuff for the season, right? Like some business with 49ers, RSF 49ers. We got some new sponsors coming up. So we had to close those deals and then I did see a patient and then I had to go to my clinic and do some paperwork stuff. I don't know. Busy. Anyways, Mario says, so does Ayuk want to stay or does he want out? I'm not sure. I'm not going to speculate, but I'm sure that he wants to stay and play and be with the Niners. But you hear a lot of rumors out there. If you, saw the Instagram story he posted after Julio Jones, was talking about how, he didn't get enough targets in the Super Bowl. They lost 23 because of Kyle. Brandon Ayuk kind of referenced that maybe he didn't, but I don't know. BA gets a little bored sometimes. He's kind of weird. He's a little cryptic on the social media. I got something I'm going to post tomorrow about Brandon Ayuk. He's active on his YouTube a lot. We got a YouTube comment. He made you'll see. You'll post it tomorrow. I'm going to post about Brandon Ayuk tomorrow. Nothing crazy. It's just going to be a hype post, but we'll see how the fans react to that. Let's see. AJ says the only one who didn't get hit by the Madden curse was Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I guess he's the only one, huh? 49ers media said, I've been so busy with my internship, so I haven't been posting. That's good, man. Take care of business. Hope everything's going good. My boy's got internships. We'd love to hear it. Julia says, yesterday was a sad day since R-Truth is no. That was crazy, bro. They're not going to bring him back. That was a bad decision. There's a lot of other people they could have got rid of, but I don't know. At least they could have made the John Cena R-Truth match like a retirement versus title match, but I don't know. Triple H is getting on my last nerve, but that's not about the Niners. Mario says, why is Trent Williams so quiet? Kind of scared that he wants out? No, I don't think so. He's usually quiet. He's been there. Kyle said he'll be there. He was there early in the offseason program, but not too worried about Trent. Now, if he pulls the wool over eyes, I'll be pissed, but I don't think he will. Steven says, Purdy didn't get a lot of time from the offensive line, so Ayuk needs to understand, with my respect to him. Yeah, no doubt. Hopefully this O-line plays a lot better this year, because last year they could have been much better. But again, Trent Williams was hurt, right? There was a lot of other underperformers on that O-line, but Trent Williams being hurt was a major catalyst to, them not playing as good and not being able to protect Brock Purdy. So we'll see. Yeah, he isn't that big of a media guy, says David, and he does deserve, breaks. You don't want him to break down. That's the thing. He is, 37, 38? You want to make sure he comes in healthy and ready to roll. If you overtrain him, if you overwork him now, chances of him getting hurt are higher. He's a great veteran. He knows how to play. He doesn't necessarily need to practice, right? He knows the game. So you want to make sure he's in good condition. And I'm sure he's doing conditioning wherever he's at right now. So we got to make sure Trent Williams stays healthy. So I agree. You can give him a break until training camp. So MSQ says, I think it's more of TKO. Yeah, I was talking about this with my boys today. I feel like TKO is definitely ruining the vibe, but Triple H has got to follow them. But I sometimes he gets so invested in like the long-term storytelling, and he just drags things out. He drags it out. Just pull the trigger on things. But that's another story for another day. But anyways, curse has been lifted. Bryce Huff officially been traded to the Niners unless he fails his physical. Now that would be a story of the offseason. It's not going to happen. Let's not put that out there. But anyways, we'll be live with Larry tomorrow night on our normal Tuesday spot. Hopefully I'll be home more during the afternoon tomorrow. Hopefully I could, if there's any breaking news, we could do it. And then again, this week, OTAs is continuing. I think Robert Saleh should be talking to the media, so we'll probably post some stuff about that, hopefully. And we'll see. Let's see if the Niners do anything else this week. They usually always have some good news over the last couple of weeks. So it's been a good offseason. You guys have a good rest of your day. Love you. And go Niners.